The iPad mini starts at $499, has a USB-C port, comes in space gray, pink, purple, and starlight, 8.3-inch display, and is ultra portable. I'm Aegis B, and this is the iPad mini 6. Roll the intro. Right off the bat, I'm gonna say that after using this for a while, I'm not the biggest fan of the iPad mini. But before I do talk about all of my gripes, I do want to talk about what this iPad mini is good for. And I think it's good for a lot of people. First of all, the iPad mini is really good for anybody that does a lot of commuting and traveling. Since this thing is so small, it can fit in your bag or your purse, and you're able to carry it around with not too much heft. So this is super portable, and if you admire portability as a reason to buy a new computer or a tablet, then you're definitely going to appreciate the iPad mini since it's so light. It's the perfect companion for those that want to get access to notes while you're on a job site, for anybody that wants to read notes while walking to lecture, or even fly a plane. Apple has used that in a lot of their marketing, so this might be useful for you. This is also great for avid readers. So let's say you're about to go to sleep and you want to catch up on some reading. This thing is not going to be too heavy, and it's not going to cause too much stress on your hands when you're reading, and also it's not going to fall on your face and hurt that much. It's also good for people with small children that don't necessarily need a bigger screen. The bigger screen might be too big for them, so you could look into getting the iPad mini 6. Let's spend a minute talking about the design. The iPad mini 6 follows the design language of the recent Apple products. Starting with the iPad Pro, Apple redesigned their looks to be more squared and industrial, and that look has translated down to the iPad mini 6. It's actually almost exactly like the iPad Air 4 of last year, ported down into a smaller size, and basically you have the iPad mini 6. So the iPad mini 6 features an 8.3-inch display, and the display is pretty much exactly the same as we had on the iPad mini 5 before. So you could get up to like 500 nits brightness, but Apple on this go around decided to reduce the bezels and give us a little bit of more extra space by removing the Touch ID button and putting it to the top. It also has speakers at the top and the bottom, but no quad speakers like the iPad Pro, and at the top you have the volume buttons that change functionality based on the orientation of the device. Overall, I do think that the iPad mini 6 is a really good looking tablet, and I guess the best way I could describe it is cute. The iPad mini 6 features the A15 chip, which is Apple's latest chip that is also featured in the iPhone's 13. And that means that you're going to get a lot of power. You can edit 4K video. You can also play intensive games like I did playing Call of Duty Mobile without experiencing any lags, skips, or any delays. And of course, like I mentioned, you could do just about anything you're going to need to do with the power in this thing. But I should say this, and I say it in all of my recent Apple videos, you're not going to notice a day-to-day difference if you're using any of the more recent Apple devices. For example, if you're coming from the iPad mini 5, while this is faster, day-to-day doing things like emails, watching content, browsing through the web, whatever you got to do, you're not really going to notice like a huge increase in speed with the A15 chip in the iPad mini 6. If you're going to be buying a new tablet for power, you don't necessarily need to buy this one specifically. You can get pretty much any of the other ones, and they'll still do your day-to-day tasks pretty damn fast. Oh yeah, and one key feature of the A15 is that it is more efficient, so this means that you get a lot more power increases. But I can say that with my use of this, watching a lot of content, doing emails, and light gaming on this thing, I can get 8 to 10 hours easily with the A15 chip in the iPad mini. Before I get into the gripes, let's talk about some other things that I should mention about the iPad mini 6. The iPad mini 6 supports the Apple Pencil, which makes it a real tool for taking notes. The iPad mini also has USB-C, which is my favorite upgrade by far, allowing you to connect external hard drives and cameras. It also has a 12 megapixel upfront camera that allows you to take selfies, use FaceTime, do Zoom meetings, but also it has center stage, which is Apple's new feature that allows you to stay in focus no matter where you are on the screen. And that means that this thing is going to be really, really good for conferencing, especially with everything that's going on nowadays. The iPad mini also has a 12 megapixel camera with an f1.8 aperture at the back. Don't use this for taking photos of your kids or anything like that. It's really good for scanning notes, but please don't embarrass them by bringing an iPad. Okay, so let's finally talk about my gripes with the iPad mini 6. And surprisingly, there are a lot of them. One of the first things that I do want to talk about is the price, because this is an important factor for a lot of people that are looking to buy new tablets. This is not cheap. This thing costs $499, which is $100 more expensive than the previous iPad mini. And with that extra $100, you think that you're gonna be getting an extra storage space base model as Apple did with the iPhones, right? Wrong. You're gonna get 64 gigs or 256 gigs. I do wish Apple gave us the choice to go with a 128 gig version. While porting over the data from my old iPad Pro to the new iPad mini, I ran out of storage because this thing is only 64 gigs. Again, that's the base model at $499. If I was to go with the 256 version, this will bring the total all the way up to a whopping $649 for this thing. Now, the display is not that much of an improvement over the last iPad mini 6. And while it's not a bad thing, it's still good for reading books, watching content, or doing what you gotta do. I do wish that at least for the extra money, I would get like some more extra features with the display. If you're using it outside, you are gonna notice that it doesn't get that bright, and it also has plenty of glare. Now, staying on the topic of the display, another thing that I do not like about this is that while yes, you can do a lot of productivity tasks, the mini is not ideal, at least for me or my personal preference, for getting things done and banging out a lot of productive tasks. I usually use the 11-inch iPad Pro, as I mentioned, and that has a bigger screen, more screen real estate, so when I'm multitasking, then I'm able to really use up the full display and get things done. But with this one, I think it's more for fun, doing games, and not really doing any productivity tasks. And speaking of the display size, one thing that I don't like about it either is the fact that Apple didn't really make use of the full display. With the UI on the iPad mini, you're gonna notice that on both sides of it, you're losing a lot of screen real estate because Apple's not allowing you to place icons on either side of this display, which means that it just looks really weird. A lot of people might have questions regarding the jelly display. I don't think I would have noticed until people pointed it out, if I'm being totally honest. It's not that big of a problem, but I can say that I do notice it. So if you're somebody that is picky, you might want to check this out before purchasing the iPad mini 6, because you can definitely see it once it's pointed out to you. And although when I first saw this, I definitely thought that this would be the one that brings me back to the smaller iPad lineup, it definitely just wasn't the one this time, and I think I might return it. So to conclude, it is kind of hard for me to suggest this for a lot of people, especially considering the price. If you're buying this for a child, you might want to look at the $329 basic iPad that has a lot of power, a bigger display, is good for young kids that are in school. And then again, if you're also buying this for yourself, you might want to look at the iPad Air 4 because that has a bigger display, and I feel like it's a way better value than the iPad mini 6. But if you're somebody that is constantly on the go, this is basically your best option. That wraps up my video. Let me know what you guys think of the iPad mini 6. Are you guys into it, or am I being too harsh? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Peace.